The Donkey and the King. How a Donkey Found His Identity. Once, long ago, there was a little donkey. Although little donkey was not very strong, every few days his boy would lovingly load him up with food to sell and walk him into Jerusalem. "You're doing a good job, little donkey," the boy would exclaim. But at night in the stable, the other donkeys would make fun of him. "I'm strong enough to pull the millstone to grind wheat," said Biggest Donkey. "I'm the biggest and the best of all the donkeys. You're so little you can only carry food to the market." Poor little donkey was so sad. "One day I'll show them," he said quietly to himself. Then one day, when little donkey was tied up outside the stable, waiting to be loaded up, two men came and spoke with the boy. "Something special for you to do today, little donkey," said the boy as he untied little donkey's lead and gave it to one of the men. As little donkey was being led away, one man said to the other, "How did the master know about this donkey?" The other man whispered something back. Little donkey was puzzled. Did this master they're talking about see something special about me? Soon little donkey was brought to a kindly bearded man. "Jesus, we found the donkey just like you said." The kindly bearded man smiled at them and tickled little donkey behind the ears. His friends threw cloaks on little donkey's back, and Jesus sat on the donkey. Little donkey had never had anyone sit on him before. He found the bearded man big and very awkward to carry. It wasn't like carrying food to the market. "I don't like this at all. Why didn't he choose Biggest Donkey?" thought little donkey as he plodded forward very slowly. Soon little donkey became aware of the crowds of people lining the road. They were shouting, "Hosanna! Hosanna to the King of Kings!" as they excitedly waved palm leaves. Little donkey soon forgot about how awkward it was to carry the bearded man. As he looked in awe at the crowds cheering, he thought, "I knew it! I knew I was meant for more than carrying food. The bearded man knew it too, and the crowds see it. I'm not a little donkey. I'm a king!" That night in the stable, little donkey told all the other donkeys how the bearded man had chosen him and how the crowd had cheered for him and called him the King of Kings. "I may be the littlest donkey, but I am the king of all the donkeys." "No, you're not," declared Biggest Donkey. "I am, and I can prove it," said Little Donkey. "Come with me tomorrow to the market and you'll see all the crowds cheering for me." The following day all the donkeys went to market, but there were no crowds cheering or waving palm leaves. No one was singing "Hosanna to the King of Kings." "See, we told you you weren't a king," sneered Biggest Donkey. "You're only a little donkey with a big imagination." "I am a king!" cried Little Donkey. "It must be because it's the wrong day. That's why the crowds aren't here." "Well, I'm not coming again," said Biggest Donkey. "I've got more important things to do than wasting my time with a little liar." Poor little donkey was so sad. "I'll show them," he said to himself. "Maybe if I do everything the same way I did before, the crowds will wave palm branches and shout for me again." Poor little donkey was so sad. "I'll show them," he said to himself. "Maybe if I do everything in the same way I did before, the crowds will wave palm branches and shout for me again." Little donkey was eager to go to the market on the right day. As soon as his boy secured the burden on his back, little donkey set off at the quickest pace he'd ever done. "You're very keen today," said his boy. Now there were crowds streaming into Jerusalem, but no one was cheering for little donkey. "Perhaps I need to have someone riding on my back like before," he thought. So little donkey nudged the little boy and put his head down to try and encourage the boy to sit on him. "Oh," laughed the boy as he scrambled onto the little donkey's back, "you like giving people rides now." Little donkey began plodding along again. "Now everyone will recognize me," he thought cheerfully. But still no one cheered, and no one called him king. Little donkey thought long and hard. "Maybe the crowds didn't recognize me as King Donkey because I'm only carrying the boy and one sack of flour. If I carry even more, then the crowds will see how great I am again." When the boy waved to his friends as they approached the market, little donkey nudged them too. Soon little donkey was carrying 3 boys and a sack of flour. "Now they will recognize me as the king as they see how strong I am." But still no one in the crowd shouted Hosanna. "Why won't they cheer for me?" demanded little donkey. I am the king. Everyone said so." By the time they got to the market, little donkey was exhausted from carrying so much, and he was awfully angry. He was so angry that he didn't notice the huge crowds in the temple courts at first. When at last he did notice the noise the crowd made, he looked up to see what was going on. "It's Jesus!" said the boy. The boy was right. The crowds were cheering for Jesus, even those who travelled into Jerusalem that day alongside little donkey and his boy. In that moment, little donkey realized he wasn't the king at all. He only carried the true king. Little donkey was miserable all the way home. Biggest donkey was right. I'm not a king. I'm only a little donkey. As the boy settled little donkey into the stable for the night, he said, "Good job, little donkey," and tickled little donkey behind the ears. "You know, you must feel pretty special that one so great as Jesus would choose to ride you into Jerusalem." Little donkey thought about that as he was munching on his hay in the manger. "I may not be the biggest, and I may not be able to grind wheat, and I may not even be a king, but I was chosen to be ridden by the King of Kings, which makes me pretty special in his eyes." And he tickled me behind the ears. The Donkey and the King is the first book in the Lost Parables series, standalone allegorical tales that will speak to both children and adults. It's available as an ebook on Amazon. And for additional resources, including discussion questions and these PowerPoint slides, visit johnspencerwrites.com/resources.